welcome back as we try to discuss U.S. immigration law in a way that's easy for you to understand. Well, this was a big one. There is an alien registration requirement that has been on the books for a long time. It's under the Immigration and Nationality Act. It requires aliens in the United States or foreign nationals in the United States who are not fingerprinted upon entry to the United States to register with the U.S. government. And failure to register has civil and criminal penalties attached to it. And on January 20th, 2025, President Trump issued an executive order called Protecting the American People Against Invasion. And this order directs the Department of Homeland Security to enforce this long-standing alien registration requirement. So, what does this mean? Most aliens in the United States must register with the federal government if they're staying more than 30 days in the United States. And again, this is a regulation that was already on the books, but as we've seen with the Trump administration, they are choosing to now enforce a lot of these regulations. So who must register under this registration requirement? If you fall into one of these categories, pay attention, because you need to make sure that you register. You are 14 years old or older, and you are not fingerprinted when applying for a visa. I talk a lot about Canadians. Canadians oftentimes enter the United States as visa-exempt travelers, and they do not get fingerprinted when they enter the United States. They simply show a passport at a port of entry, and they enter the United States when coming as a visitor. If that is you, and you are 14 or older, you must register if you will be in the United States more than 30 days. If you're under 14, your parent or guardian must register you. And if you turn 14 while you are in the United States and you will be here over 30 days, then you must register. Once you register, Department of Homeland Security will issue proof of registration. If you're 18 or older, you must carry it with you at all times, and this applies to all the other immigration documents that we've discussed before. You must carry your green card, your passport with your stamp in it, proof of your valid status in the United States. That's another regulation. So these are two regulations that you must comply with if you are in the United States as a foreign national. Now, who is already registered? The following individuals are already registered and don't need to take any action. If you're a green card holder, you're already fingerprinted and went through this process when you got your green card. If you have an actual visa or were issued what's called Form I-94 upon entry to the United States, you are also fingerprinted upon admission. So going back to Canadian example, if you're a Canadian and you entered the United States on a TN visa, for example, then you were inspected, you were fingerprinted and admitted. Or if you were entered on an L1 visa, for example, or a student visa or whatever it might be, you were actually fingerprinted as part of that process and don't need to go through this registration. If you were paroled into the United States, if you were placed in removal proceedings by Department of Homeland Security, if you were issued an employment authorization document or an EAD card, or if you are a border crossing card holder, you were already registered. So if you meet one of those requirements, you have already registered and you already meet this requirement and do not need to register. Now, if you are in the U.S. and you haven't registered, you could face misdemeanor charges, fines, and immigration consequences. So pay attention. If you are required to register and you haven't, we can see this impacting people probably more so with immigration consequences. And I'm going back to the Canadian example. If you come in as a Canadian visitor and you've been here for 6 months and you fail to register, the next time you try to enter the United States after that entry and you didn't comply with this, they could refuse future entries into the United States because you failed to comply with immigration requirements. So this could be used in various different ways for immigration enforcement. Like I said, misdemeanor charges, fines, and future immigration penalties. And I see that's where it's going to impact people most. They fail to register. They didn't know they needed to register, and then they try to re-enter the United States after they stayed longer than 30 days, and they failed to follow this procedure there, and then they get refused for future entries and have consequences attached because maybe they simply didn't know about the requirement and didn't fulfill this registration requirement. So how to register? The portal, it was supposed to be live yesterday on February 25th. So if you are a non-citizen in the United States and you meet this requirement, you were not fingerprinted upon admission, and you will be in the United States more than 30 days, then you can go to USCIS and create an online account and follow the registration process. And parents can do this for their children who are under the age of 14. Now, it's important to understand that registration is not an immigration benefit. It does not give you legal status, it does not authorize you to work, and it does not protect you from deportation. It's simply a legal obligation under U.S. immigration law. So, to recap everything, if you're a non-citizen staying in the United States more than 30 days, you must register with the U.S. government. If you're already registered, great. If not, you need to make sure you comply with this process. And the requirement went into effect starting February 25th, so yesterday. Go to uscis.gov, create an account, and follow the registration requirements.